So I played field hockey for 2 years. Hated that because I was always back of the pack. We had our sportsplex had 4 fields all grouped together, and we had to run around those 4 fields twice.
All right, good afternoon. Welcome to episode 10 of Unleashing Power. Today I'm your host, Alejandro. This is not Sarah's podcast today, it's my podcast. And our special guest, is Sarah Ferguson. Sarah, welcome to your own podcast.
Thank you.
Today we will be discussing a few things about yourself and about powerlifting in general and highs and lows far and near the future. So welcome again. Hopefully this episode touches someone somewhere. All right. Before we get going, let's do some quick icebreakers. All right. This is your thing. So let's do some icebreakers. So first thing first, pre-workout or no pre-workout?
I don't take actual pre-workout, but I do drink energy drinks. So I don't know how people would categorize that, but I haven't taken pre-workout since I think my last meet in July of 2024.
Not even in training?
No, never.
It's pretty good to know. I guess you're one of those weird people. Got it. No pre-workout energy drinks. Do you normally drink energy drinks before every single session?
Most of them. Deadlift, sometimes I'll skip it because it gives me acid reflux. So I avoid it for deadlifts.
Okay, I guess maybe you can consider energy drink a pre-workout, but who
Yeah,
knows?
I mean, I would. It's still caffeine.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. All right, so next one, gym PR or comp PR? Which one is more impressive?
Comp PR,
Why?
without a doubt.
Why?
Because in the gym, even if you ask for commands or something like that, the person who you've asked to either judge you or whatever isn't looking for everything that a competent ref is going to be looking for. So, not to mention, there's so much other stuff that goes into a meet day and making a comp lift happen. If you have to do a weight cut, you might be losing sleep the night before. You don't have all your friends there hyping you up. There's a lot that goes into it that makes a comp lift a lot more impressive.
Okay, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly there. Okay, number 3, last but not least, smelling salts or back slaps?
Back slaps. Because I think it has more of a
Charge.
bodily, more of a bodily reaction that gets your adrenaline pumping rather than smelling salts just make me more awake, but it doesn't give me that same adrenaline rush that back slaps or thigh slaps could give me.
Okay, good to know. So do you use smelling salts at all?
I used to. I don't know when I stopped. I guess probably like a year ago or so. It also could be that I haven't had any lifts that I really felt like I had to get hyped for in a while, so that could be a determining factor.
Maybe you have developed a way to get hype without the back slaps or the
That
salts.
could be. Yeah.
Yeah. I think as lifters mature, I think they can channel some kind of hype without even using salts or having the assault charge or back slaps.
I agree.
I think personally, I think personally for me at least, sometimes I use smelling salts just to wake me up, just to like get me out of like a tired state in the gym.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's good to know. Good to know. Good to know. All right, thank you for those answers. I appreciate them. Now let's jump into something more. Tell me about yourself. Give me your overview of your involvement in the strength sports enterprise or strength sports environment. Tell me your origin story. Let's hear how you got into the whole powerlifting, the whole strength environment, fitness, gym, whatever you want to call it. Give me your take. What you got?
Uh, Growing up, my brother always played sports, but I never really got into them. I would play a sport for a year or so and just kind of lose interest. I never really felt like I had a strong team. The teams that I was a part of, I always felt like an outsider. I never really felt like I was um, that good at anything athletic as well. I started working when I was 14 or 15. So sports to me always seemed like taking away from my money. So I was like, oh, I would rather just make money than play sports. So I always grew up thinking that I had no athletic ability or anything like that. Didn't enjoy running. I would go to the gym and do cardio. I was always bigger, both like tall and just big as well. So I always went to the gym since I was like a teenager, did cardio, that kind of thing, played around on the machines, but I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. So I would go in and like max out on the leg press, like the standard kind of introduction to the gym. And then, so that was kind of my high school, post high school gym experience. And then COVID hit, and I was still going to the gym pre-COVID pretty regularly and trying to work more of a program, but it was still very like lower body based, avoiding anything upper body because I didn't want to get bulky, that whole thing. COVID hit, and I started watching a bunch of videos doing resistance band training. So I was doing squats with the resistance bands, overhead presses, push-ups, calisthenic type stuff. And then I met a friend, Cam, shout out Cam. He told me, you have the perfect build to be a power lifter. And I had never heard that I had the perfect build for anything before. So I'm like, I was very intrigued, and I said, tell me more. And from there, I just started looking up powerlifting. At the time, the first YouTube video that I watched was a video with Dana Lynn Bailey, Maddie Forberg, and I forget her name. I think her name's Brooke, but I can't remember. She was a CrossFitter. So it was a bodybuilder, a powerlifter, and a CrossFitter. And they all had to do each other's kind of training exercises. And so then I started looking into Maddie Forberg and also stumbled on the Amanda Lawrence and Danny Mello IPF Worlds.
So
And
you had some big influence from the start. Wow.
yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
and again, thinking about female athletes, I think of very lean, very on the smaller side. And then I saw these women like Amanda and Daniela, and just seeing like strong, I don't want to say big, like athletic, larger, more muscular bodies. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, I have to get into this sport. So that was really cool and kind of eye-opening for me. And then so I was at a retro fitness at the time. They didn't really have a lot of powerlifting equipment. And so then I found the training center in Delaware and started working with a trainer there, Steve. Shout out Steve. And he was very just lifestyle based. Like, he taught me how to squat, taught me how to deadlift, but he isn't a powerlifting coach at all. So he really just got me to the point of being able to start powerlifting, because at that point my idea of dieting was just like starving myself, not eating. So I was very, anytime I would lose weight, I was just basically malnourished. Now, that whatever that word is.
Malnourished.
Malnourished.
Yes, I got you.
And so I had no muscle mass at all. I was just like skinny fat. And so Steve got me to the point where we packed on some muscle. We got good at squatting more to depth than I was originally. It really just helped me become more confident and more mobile, I guess. So that was really good for my confidence. And I wanted to compete so bad. And so I did my first meet really with no coach, no handler, no nothing. I just
Hold
showed
up, hold
up.
up. Before we jump into your first meet, quick questions. Let's try more real quick. So you said back in high school you were not into team sports, or you did a little bit of it. What sports were they?
So I played field hockey for 2 years. Hated that because I was always back of the pack. We had our sportsplex had 4 fields all grouped together, and we had to run around those 4 fields twice. I couldn't even make it probably down one edge without stopping and huffing and puffing. And I'm playing with other field hockey players who also played soccer in the spring.
Okay, so
So
they're
they were
fit.
just like,
They're fit. Yeah.
yeah, just absolutely no problem at all. So that was very discouraging. And then I played basketball because I was, 5'9", 5'10" in high school. And everybody said, "Oh, you're tall. You would be great at basketball." Well, height is only one factor in that. I'm not coordinated at all, and all that kind of stuff. So
So field hockey and basketball, two extremes. Okay,
yeah,
wow. And when your time in the gym in your school days, what was your favorite machine? You say you always go max out some of the machines. What would they be?
the hip adductor and abductors I would always hit
Okay, all right,
because I
good,
thought
good
that
to
would do
know.
something.
And those machines were in your school time?
Yeah, I had a Planet Fitness membership, so they had
Okay, okay,
everything. They had
okay, makes sense.
yeah.
Let's go back to your first meet now. Let's hear that.
So I show up to my first meet, zero expectation. I had read the rule book, so I knew basically how it would run. I still didn't understand how flights worked, so I just thought that I would be with my group of 10 people or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
do all my squats, do all my bench, do all my deadlifts. So I don't think I brought any food. I think I brought candy because somebody told me, "Oh, bring candy for carbs to keep you
That's all you
energized."
brought? Candy?
So that's all I heard. I'm like, "Oh, say
Okay.
less. I'll bring candy." Yeah. Thank goodness my brother came to watch and he ran out and got me espresso halfway through because I was dragging. So my first meet was an RPS meet,
Okay.
which RPS is known for being they go a little bit slower, and so I think lifting started at 8:30 or 9, and we were still lifting around 5. So, having no food and candy, someone from training center showed up to help handle somebody else. And thank goodness they jumped in and helped handle me. And she had brought like Wawa soft pretzels, and she gave me one of those. So that's what powered me through.
Wow. Thank you, Wawa, for sponsoring this meet event.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the time frame between when you found out about powerlifting to your first meet?
So I found out about powerlifting, I would say November of 2020, September, November. And then I started with my coach at training center in January of 2021. And then my first meet was in August
Oh, you see, you had some time.
of that year. Yeah.
How was the training towards that?
So the training was interesting because, like I said, he wasn't a powerlifting coach. So he would just style my training kind of whatever he wanted to do that day. And then I would still just do my own thing the other days that I was training. So I would only train one on one with him on Saturdays. And then my friend who was in college, he kind of wrote me a very basic, I think it's called like pyramid style training for my prep. So it started off with a 5x5, then it went down to a 4x4, 3x3, 2x2. So that was my training. It was all just, self-written basically, and just based off 1 rep max, which I had no 1 rep max at the time. So it was all just to kind of go out there and set a baseline, which if you look at my numbers, were not that impressive, but it was just me getting out there and setting a number so that the next time I had a meet, I could blow those numbers out of the water.
Okay. Were there any opportunity for you to try to achieve that baseline or have an idea in the gym by doing maybe like a mock meet or maybe a max out day just to see where the baseline was? Did you guys attempt that or was that?
Um, I don't feel like back then, there weren't as many powerlifters at that gym. It was more of a bodybuilding gym that
Yeah.
happened to have powerlifters there. And I kind of kept to myself back then too. So I wasn't confident enough in myself to really try to organize that or anything. I definitely did try to max out a few times, but again, you never know if you're doing it correctly to comp standard or anything like that because all I really had was stuff on the internet to go off of. I didn't really have anybody there that could judge me or give me commands or anything.
Yeah. On your first meet experience now, yeah, day of the meet, how was the environment? How was the community? How was the welcome?
The community was great. I really am glad that my first meet was an RPS meet because everybody there is like very friendly. I saw coaches jumping in to help people who had no coach, and I met a bunch of people too that I still kind of follow and track their progress. The judges were friendly, like they'd give you a little smile, like they could tell it was my first meet, obviously. The one judge like would give me a little smile when she knew I got it right. Just little things like that that make you kind of knock those first meet nerves off a little bit.
Were there many?
Were there many?
Yeah, nerves.
I don't think nerves really. It was really just I knew that I had an issue with my squat depth, so that was my main concern. I
Okay.
think I slept probably 2 hours the night before because I kept having nightmares about missing depth.
Okay. Right.
Once I got squats over with, then I was like, I'm fine.
What was your favorite lift for that meet?
For that meet, at the time, deadlift.
Okay, then.
No, I
All right.
know.
That's drastic turnaround there. All right. That's good to know. All right. Anything else you want to add on your introduction?
I guess just while we're talking about getting into the gym and getting into powerlifting, I did want to mention that I think powerlifting, especially for people who haven't really grown up being super athletic, it's interesting how transformative it is on your entire self. It's not just getting stronger in the gym. You're building confidence. There's a lot of confidence that comes with powerlifting, not just in hitting your lifts, but it kind of carries over into your everyday life as well, at least for myself. And just building a lot of those skill sets that are transferable to your life, like um, having that mental fortitude of failing a lift and still having to go to the gym the next day. Stuff like that that I don't know if people really piece those things together, but I really think that it does uh, build good character, if you want to word it that way.
Agree. I think it definitely does help all around. It carries over into real life because technically sometimes in real life outside of powerlifting we do have days where it doesn't go our way. Then we have to like pull ourselves together and continue on the next day and get better. And I think powerlifting does give us maybe a little bit of aid so that we can use those examples and carry them over into our real lives. And I think it's overall other than the pain and the aches and stress sometimes. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good to hear. So, all right. So now I'm gonna ask you some questions about the SBD, squat, bench, and deadlift. I want you to rank them. Squat, bench, and deadlift. Where would you rank them in terms of on your personal scale? Where would you rank them?
Right now, I would have to give bench first,
Okay.
then squat, then deadlift.
Okay. If you had to give a give a different name, something. If you had to add a description to squat, bench, and deadlift that pertains to you, what would you add to that? It could be something powerlifting related. It could be something that's personal. It could be something that just a little memo like squats. What a squat? What is a squat? What is a bench? What does a deadlift mean to you? There you go.
Squat is kind of my first love. Squat, I think, is so challenging, but so rewarding at the
Hmm.
same time. There's nothing that gives you that thrill more than hitting a monster squat. Like it makes you feel so good. I think because it is so technical and you typically have spotters, so you have people hyping you up. It just gives you a good feeling.
Okay,
Um,
I
on the
agree.
flip side, it can also make you feel like crap, if you miss it or you didn't hit it to depth or whatever. You're having issues with, aches and pains, whatever. Bench, I think, is, even though for most people it adds to your total the least, I think bench makes or breaks a good powerlifter because there's so many things that can go wrong with it. It has the most amount of commands. I haven't looked up into the data of this, but if I had to guess, I would say third benches probably get missed the most. I don't know if that's statistically relevant at all, but I feel like people miss their third benches a lot because benches can be moving phenomenally, and then all of a sudden you slap 10 more pounds on it, and it moves like,
It can be 2 pounds sometimes.
yeah, it moves like you can't even hit anything close to that. So I think bench can be really mentally challenging but also rewarding at the same time
If there was
because
a word for that, what would you call bench? Mysterious,
yeah,
suspenseful.
like a rascal.
I like that. Well said. Well said. All right, Dad, what we got?
Oh, deads are just a pain.
That's
A
some. That's some.
pain. Pestilence. So I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think deadlifts come the most naturally at first when you
Hmm.
know nothing about lifting because you're just picking it up off the ground.
I
You
agree.
know how to
Yeah.
pick stuff off the ground. You probably, even if you're not familiar with squat technique or bench technique, most people can walk up to a deadlift bar and pull 100.
Yeah. True.
But then once you hit that point where you have to get better technically, that's when it becomes challenging. And that, for me, I have short arms, long legs, long femurs. So getting into a deadlift position for me is just very uncomfortable. And I'm bigger. So just getting into that position is like, oh, this sucks. And then if you're not pulling correctly, like I wasn't for a long time, your lower back is just on fire after anything more than, 2 or 3 reps. So it always feels like you're going to break your back. Yeah. So deadlift is getting better, but
So
still
what's
the
the
bane of my
so what's the
existence.
word? Painful?
Pestilence.
Pestilence. Biblical language. Okay, got you. All right, thank you for that. I'll make a mental note of that. All right. Obviously, you're a powerlifter. You train at a gym. I want to ask some questions surrounding the gym and environment now. So, first question will be, how would you describe the gym culture now? Not so much the fitness arena, but let's stick to the powerlifting. Maybe if you want to touch on the fitness, feel free. But how would you describe the gym culture currently, right now?
So it might be a little bit different for me because I train at one of the biggest gyms in the area.
Yeah,
So,
give me your personal take. Yeah.
yeah. So, from what I've seen, there was a huge influx of younger lifters. Um, because I think a few years ago you had a lot of people cross over from either bodybuilding, being in the gym, lifting heavy, and they came over to powerlifting. So they might have been a little bit older, more mature. And then it gained popularity, and there were a huge influx of young lifters. Um, and the whole social media, posting to social media, becoming a fitfluencer, all that kind of stuff. You had the huge brands getting big, Gymshark, Alpha Elite, all that. So that I think added to a lot of the excessive nature of people in the gym, doing stuff like throwing stuff, hitting their forehead on the bar, kind of taking it to that extreme for views and clicks and stuff like that. And now I feel like we're in kind of a weird space where a little bit of that has died down, I think. And I think right now we're seeing a lot of people being put through the ringer a little bit where they're being tested on, am I doing powerlifting because I love it, or am I doing powerlifting because it was cool to post on social media for a while? Um, and I think you see a lot of people questioning that, whether internally or externally. So yeah.
To add to that, I think you hit the nail right on the head there as well. I think as we as the time has been progressing, we are seeing that people are finally realizing that it's no longer to some degree it still is, but it's no longer just about how much views you can get now, because I think the sport itself has probably leveled up where you actually have to be strong for you to even be considered in the comments or considered in the conversation. And we are starting to see now that you're either competitive or you're not, and just because you can perform as though you have strength doesn't mean you're strong. And however way people want to think or take that part towards strong, because being strong can be a whole bracket of levels, because it's not just because someone lifts 1,000 pounds makes them stronger than a person who lifts 100 pounds. It's just where you fall in that bracket and time frame and so forth. Yeah, but definitely I've seen that change, and I think a lot of people are seeing that as well. But that's definitely something that it's good to hear. It's good to see that people are actually realizing that okay, it's time to get serious, or it's time to just get out of the way and let the actual people that want to take it seriously, or have fun with it. But whichever way
Right.
works. So go ahead.
Well, I also think that there's been so much emphasis put on the higher level meets. There's the Sheffield, the IPF Worlds, the USAPL Raw Nationals. That lower level lifters, or the person who doesn't make powerlifting their entire life, it makes them feel kind of in this place of I don't really fit in because nobody really cares about local level meets anymore. And I think that is a shame because I don't want to see those people quit. I don't mind if somebody was just here for clout and they realize that powerlifting isn't something that they're obsessed with. That's fine. Go find something else that you're passionate about. But the people who just feel like they're left out because they're not on the trajectory to go to IPF Worlds, I don't want to see people like that quit. So I don't really have an answer, but I think the federations are doing a better job at making local level meets a little bit more exciting. I don't know what else we could do to keep that local competition alive because I know for myself being in the super heavyweight women's division, I know for the most part if I show up to a local meet, there might be one other person in my weight class, but whether it's going to be good competition or not really. So I don't know how we fix that, but I think they're trying to do a better job of making local meets more exciting, having regionals be a little bit bigger of a production, those kinds of things. I think that's the really important stuff to keep people feeling like they're not just a nobody.
I agree. And add to that as well. I think some of these federations do have these meets in place. They have their regionals, they have their states, they have whatever level auto meets, even their nationals. They do have these meets that are catered to all levels in terms of lifters. I think it comes down to the lifter and lifters as a community itself. Like they need to stop looking at social media, stop looking at the top lifters and think that you're left out. How many top lifters compete in those events at one given time? Just a handful. There's thousands of other lifters that are not going there. It's not just you, it's everybody else. It's just a handful of people in those big meets. And just like normal sports, the NBA, you
Right.
have so many college players and only a handful make it to the NBA. And do they feel left out? Probably do, but it's the nature of sports, and we
Right.
just need to we need to stop looking at that as the highest level that you're trying to attain. Yes, if you want to shoot for that, feel free, but you need to go through the rankings, go through the steps, get to that point. But don't feel as though just because they're having this grand event with all the cameras and so forth, the spectacle on these lifters or these players or these athletes, the Olympics, you don't see top 100 sprinters showcase the Olympics. You just see the top three for
Right.
the entire nation. And you probably got another hundred sprinters running maybe three or 2 seconds behind the fastest person, but you don't hear anything about them
Right.
because they're not at the Olympics. Because so we need to start thinking if we want to look at the big spectacles of sports or in powerlifting, I'd be like, why we don't have events like this is because that's for them.
Right.
This is for us.
Yeah.
And simple as that. And if we start living within or thinking within our realm and just keep getting better here, I think it'll make it better. And we obviously federations can do more to make it better, but we need to express ourselves as much as possible. And not just one person, maybe as a unit, as a team, maybe as a state. Each state come together, say, okay, we'll think this is a good idea, stuff like that. Pass the information on to the head office. Maybe something happens, but at the end of the day, we need to think like that or something like that. I don't have answers. I'm just saying.
No, I agree. It's like talking to, your little echo chamber and complaining about things. Nothing's going to get done there
Hmm.
unless voice your opinions to the people who actually can make decisions for change. Yeah. But
All right.
I think that's a good point what you made about the Olympics and all that.
Yeah. You don't see the other athletes, just the top three, top two.
Yeah,
Sometimes
but you also don't
sometimes
see
they have
people.
three athletes there. You only hear about one,
But
the star.
that doesn't mean that people are going to be like, "Oh, I'm not going to be a sprinter anymore."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. She
Yeah.
shouldn't feel discouraged. It should be more encouraged. Wherever the chips fall, it falls. I mean. All right. It's good to hear. That's good. That was a good one. All right, Jim, pet peeves. What you got?
Ooh.
Whew.
Okay.
So nervous.
No, I'm just trying to think, where do I start? Okay, one of my gym pet peeves is when people act like the equipment isn't good enough for them.
Mm.
Uh, oh, that's, my favorite combo rack is taken. I'm gonna fail my squat today. And it's like, we are so blessed, especially, I mean, Pennsylvania, we have access to so many good gyms, so much good equipment. So just to have that mentality of, oh, I don't like the padding on this bench, it's messed up. It's kind of like, get over yourself, you know?
Hmm.
Um, there are people out there who have, record breaking benches who probably trained on some dusty bench that they found in their dad's basement, So that bothers me a little bit. I think people's just un ignorance, if you will, like being unaware of your surroundings. I understand, like, I'm not one of those people to fly off the handle if somebody walks in front of me when I'm trying to squat or something like that. If you're a repeat offender, if you're just so ignorant as to what's going on around you and you're walking next to somebody who's walking out a really heavy squat and you're like this close next to their bar, just walking past with no regard, um, that kind of stuff bothers me because we're all sharing a space. We're all trying to reach goals and, just be aware that other people are there as well. This isn't your private gym.
Hmm. Any more?
I think that's about it.
Okay. All right. Now, what's your favorite thing to see in the gym?
There's something really nice about seeing everybody kind of stop and watch people lift, whether it be one red or seven reds.
Correct. Yeah.
I really like that. That adds to the camaraderie of what we do.
Hmm.
Makes you feel seen, makes you feel important. Everybody, dapping you up and stuff. And even just, being willing to spot people or knowing that somebody has a big lift and helping load their plates or something like that. Really just people like being happy for other people. That kind of stuff makes me happy to see.
Very true. Very true. That's one of my big things to Tim too. Just seeing people cheering each other on for PRs and encouraging each other. That's a good thing. I think the gym that I go to, we have a good bunch there that actually genuinely want to see people do well, and that's always good. It's always positive. And
Yep.
I think most gyms that I go to, I think it's a general thing in the powerlifting community, seeing people trying to encourage others to do well regardless of what. So that's big. That's big.
Yeah.
Um,
And I also think when people, I see it a lot, when people do those ask me anythings on like Instagram or whatever, a lot of people who aren't in powerlifting will ask, oh, how do you stay motivated to go to the gym and all that kind of stuff. And for me, I think having a program really helps, obviously, because I have 4 days this week that I have to train. Even if I miss, let's say Wednesday, no, I have to make up for it on Thursday or whatever. But the other thing is you know everybody in the gym, that everybody's cheering you on, or everybody knows that you have a big bench on Tuesday. So you know when you walk in, everybody is like, oh, big bench today. That motivation doesn't really even become a factor. Like, yeah, there's going to be days that the exhilaration to go to the gym isn't going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But never once have I thought, oh, I'm just not going to go back because of things like that. Because
Yeah.
you know people will miss you. And that really, that kind of just makes it a no-brainer to stick to your training then.
All right. You kind of answered my next question, so I'm gonna skip that one. I was talking about motivation, so good job. Good job jumping
Okay,
into that. All
nice.
right. Let's jump into midday. What makes for a good midday for you?
I think having some goal setting ahead of time. It doesn't have to be with your coach, but I think that helps as well. But having realistic expectations of what you're going to do and what the purpose of competing is as well. Because not everybody is going to go into a meet and just go balls to the wall every single time. You know, you have your meets where you might have taken some time off and this is just your reintroduction, or uh it's kind of a primer meet for another meet that you have 10 weeks after that. So kind of having a goal and sticking to that goal and not just going 110% on every single lift.
Okay. So basically, having a goal.
Yeah.
Do you have a midday ritual? Your
Not
go-to
really.
ritual? Probably have several. What's your go-to one,
Um,
or the one you
I
must
think
have?
I think the morning of, I like to really just be quiet. I get really like overwhelmed by a lot of noise or talking sometimes. So the morning of, I really like to just have a little bit of zen. I like to put on a little bit of makeup, feel like, game face, get my clothing on, singlet, all that kind of stuff, and kind of have a little bit more chill music. Then once we get to the meet, then, you can turn on the hype songs and everything. But just having that moment to kind of reflect a little bit and zen yourself out a little, so you don't, get rid of all your adrenaline for the day before you even get there.
Yep, I agree. Peace and tranquility before the storm.
Yes.
All right, midday playlist. What's your top songs or top song?
Ooh. Who's it by?
Who's it by? Wow, wow, you actually have one.
I do have one. Hold Me Back by Rick Ross.
Okay, all right, that's a good one. Do you play it on repeat or do you just play it once?
On repeat, but I have like 4 or 5 songs that I play on repeat. I play really heavy, like hard stuff for squat. Once squat is over, then I can relax a little bit. I can play some other stuff, but until after squats, I play some real hard rap.
Okay, next time we're gonna meet and there's a PA system. I'll ask them to run that track by Rick Ross.
Yes, please.
All right, midday snacks. What's your favorite?
I do love gummy bears. They don't hurt my stomach or anything. Probably my go-to. That and rice cakes.
Okay. Do you do both or do you do one or the other?
Both. Because if you eat too much candy, then it's like starts to make you feel like crap by the end of the day. Rice cakes actually kind of satiate you a little bit.
All right, switching gears a little bit here now. I appreciate those answers. All right, let's discuss powerlifting, cancel culture in the gym, cancel culture in powerlifting, and why are there so many issues, or used to be? I'm not sure if there's still any issues, but we had a we had a series of issues. Period. So,
Yeah.
what's your take on that? You don't have to get too deep, but just a quick touch.
I think powerlifting is like any other sport where it's a small community of people, small generally speaking, of people who are very invested in one thing. And because of that, you're just kind of in your own bubble. And so, of course, there's going to be issues. You have people with wildly diverse backgrounds and personalities and character traits in one area. And it's just guaranteed somebody's going to rub you the wrong way.
Hmm.
So uh, every other sport has their issues as well. But I think it's just kind of the nature of being around people, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. Do you think we are at a better place now?
I'm not super into all that stuff, but from the issues that I have seen, I felt like they were handled, and I feel like most of the federations at this point actually respond to any issues that do arise. The worst thing you can do, I think, from a person in a place of power is to handle things privately, 100%, because everybody else has no idea that things are being handled or taken care of.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's still going to rub them the wrong way. So I think the best thing that you can do as like a federation, if you will, is just to communicate effectively and make sure that people know that things are being handled, because that's, I think, at the end of the day, when it's not a matter of if issues will arise, it's kind of when, and nobody wants to feel like a question mark, you know.
Yeah, agree. I think to add to that too, I think powerlifting is so small that every little issue becomes a big, massive something. And I think
Yeah.
other sports have issues daily, but they're so big it's not even considered something major. And I think it has to do with the mass or the size of each organization and the level of the situation as well. But I think if everyone put policies in place and follow the guidelines and have proper procedures in handling these situations the correct way, we shouldn't be seeing too much of it going into the future, or it should get better.
Yeah.
And I do hope it does get better for the sake of the lifters, not necessarily the federations.
Right. Agreed.
Because at the
I
end of the
think
day, lifters do suffer.
absolutely. I think the other thing too is that there's no one governing body. So everything that does arise is dealt with under whatever fed. You know, the NFL is the umbrella, or the NBA, whatever. But with us, everything is in its own little silo. And so it's up to that silo to handle whatever is going on underneath them. Um,
I agree.
so I
And
think that kind of adds itself to the issues as well.
that's a very good, very, very good point. I think also that also because we have so many different um, organizations within our organization that when one is having its issue, the other members from the other federation or wherever, they're pointing their finger and they just make a big noise. They're like, why can't we just let them handle their business?
Exactly.
Mind your business.
Yep.
Let us do that. Let us do that. But that's just my take. All right. Thank you very much. I don't want to dig too deep into that. All right. Coaches and the examples they set. What do you have to say on that?
I think it's a hard reality that there's going to be a bigger level of scrutiny placed on a coach than there is for your average lifter. So, what do I mean by that? As an independent lifter, I can go into the gym and steal somebody's rack or complain about this, that, and the other, complain about this coach or this gym owner, whatever. That's up to me. And that doesn't tarnish anything except for my own reputation. When you're a coach, all of those things are now placed on you and your athletes. Not directly, but indirectly. And if you're walking around complaining that, oh, this meet sucks, this meet isn't run well, this gym doesn't take care of their equipment, and blah, 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 nobody's going to want to work with you. So, I think even though if you are a coach and you're an athlete as well, I think it's very important to remember that you're not just held to that lifter standard. You're held to a higher standard, and you should act accordingly.
So on the topic of coaches, do you think coaches are setting those examples?
I think yes and no. I think there's a lot of coaches who set really great examples of how to act. I think certain coaches use their platforms for the betterment of powerlifting when those issues do arise, or when they notice certain things and speak out on them. I think that has a very great impact on powerlifting community as a whole, and vice versa. When coaches are constantly negative or constantly critiquing and finding fault with things, I think that has an impact down the chain onto their athletes, because then their athletes who might not have questioned certain things before, now all of a sudden they're looking at things more negatively.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No.
Okay, I agree. I just think as lifters and coaches, we need to, especially as coaches, we need to really set the example for our lifters as well as outside lifters. And I think at the end of the day, if a coach is in the, this is how I see it, because the way how I approach or how I handle sports in general from growing up, that even though we were at, I'm gonna give an example, if we were at another facility training, or not a gym, or not a field training. And we had other coaches from other teams there as well. We showed them respect because
Right.
they're a coach of other teams or so forth. So I think, and obviously they act a certain way as well, and you can see they were very professional in how they handle certain things, and there was no sort of negativity. I think overall, if we're gonna grow as a sport, I think if someone is a coach, to some degree, they should be setting an example regardless, and we should show them some respect. How do you know someone's a coach? Can't really say these days because powerlifting is so vastly oversaturated with coaches now. You can't really tell or even distinct who's coaches or not, who's a coach or who's not a coach. So that's a different story. So overall, the bottom line is that we want the coaches to set examples. Period. Good examples. All right, moving on. This is one of my favorites that I've been seeing a lot. I want to talk about burnouts, quitting, wanting to quit, complaining. Things are not going well. Everything is on fire in the gym. Everything's on fire in my prep. Everything's on fire in the block. Just a constant state of turmoil with lifters, lifter, whoever. What's your take on that? What's causing it? How can we help? Stuff like that.
So, your first question, what's causing that? I
Yes.
think with the influx of a lot of younger people, this goes back to powerlifting gives you a lot of life skills. I think lifting maturity is the same as life maturity. You kind of learn that life isn't always going to throw you
Sunshine.
everything the way that you want
Mm-hmm.
it to go. And the gym is no different. You know, you could have a whole months that go swimmingly, and then back to back to back to back weeks that something's off or something doesn't feel right or whatever. And instead of just thinking everything sucks, I'm quitting, I think if you have that lifter maturity or life maturity to realize not everything is always going to be great. And I think perspective as well. Regardless of how many things are going bad, you can always find something that's going well or something that's good. I had a mentor my first job out of college that would always say, to those people in your life that are always negative, force them to tell you, you know, if they want to complain to you about their day, force them to come up with 3 things that were good first. And typically, by the time you have to rack your brain for 3 things that were good, the bad doesn't seem as bad anymore. And I know that that's not always the case, right? Like, there are life altering things that suck. But if you can force yourself to think of one good thing from a training session or a block or whatever, kind of makes those bad things seem a tiny bit less bad.
So focusing on the positives.
Absolutely.
I completely agree with you. I really want to see everyone in the gym be successful in whatever they're doing, powerlifting or whatever case may be. If you're coming there to achieve a certain goal, I really want to see everyone do well. That's always been something that's always top of my priority. But in terms of lifters, I like to see people do really well, and I don't want to see them quit. obviously we're gonna have bad days, we're gonna have bad weeks, we're gonna have bad sessions sometimes. Some people have bad years, and not to steal people's quotes or so forth, but I think Usain Bolt said I trained 4 years to run 9.52 seconds, an entire 4 years just to break a record.
Yeah.
So we complain when we have a week that's bad, and a month that's bad. This guy is training for 4 years to do one thing. He has one shot at doing this, one shot. So we need to start. I think we need to like really think about the good things in the gym. And one of the examples I use as well, I always like, for instance, I use it with my deadlift. My deadlifts are obviously my pain. If I'm pulling something and I miss it and I got to my shin, I broke the floor. That's a win.
Yep.
If I got it to my knee, the next time got it to my knee, that's a win. And that's how I view it. Obviously, yeah, it sucks you missed it, but I'm thinking like, okay, where did they get this time? So those are the little things that you gotta look at to see how you're progressing. The eventually it's gonna happen, and then you're gonna be like, oh, I did it, and it's not a big deal after all.
Yeah.
And so I
And
think, go ahead.
I think also, in the last year, I had a lot of issues and stuff break down and stuff like that. And I really didn't add anything significant to my total. This was
Hmm.
my first year that I really didn't add much to my total at all.
Hmm.
It's times like those that you really have to focus on what did my technique look like last year versus this year? My technique looks significantly better. Or, like you said, I only got it up to my shins last time. Now I'm getting it close to lockout. Things like that. And the other thing I wanted to say was you asked why do I think so many people are getting burned out? I think that goes back to people not feeling seen, feeling like a nobody, feeling like they just come in and they're invisible. And I also just think that we can do a better job of making people feel better too. Congratulating people or asking people what they have on their program that day or stuff like that. Just showing an interest if they're stronger than you, less strong than you, whatever. Just kind of showing an interest in the small guy as well, not just the big guy in the gym.
Completely agree. Completely agree. It also has to fall back on that person too. They need to understand that I really think it has to fall back on them as well to some degree. Yes, we want you to be seen, but you need to understand there's reality in this as well.
Oh yeah.
Um, the federation is not going to put your face on the poster if you're not ranked in the top two, top three. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's not how it works, and that goes for everybody. Period. And if you look at a lot of these top lifters that are on the posters now, before that, where were they?
Yeah.
Think about it for a second. Most of some of these top lifters that are on top right now, they're all on all the posters and going to all the big competitions. Most of us didn't know who they were until they became strong
Sure.
or stronger.
Yeah.
So think about that for a second. Those same people. There's a handful of people that came on the scene today and tomorrow are the superstar. There's very few people like that. So let's look at the big picture. Those people came, did the work, got to that point. Now they've been seen. I get it. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to feel appreciative, and we want to make everyone accommodate everyone there in the gym or in the meets. But we need to stop putting so much pressure on ourselves as lifters and just focus on what we can do at this time, and then progress and become better into the future. I think once we as lifters acknowledge that personally, it'll be so much easier in the gym because you're not putting so much pressure unless you want that pressure. Because some people want that pressure to do well, so you have to figure out where you fall. But I'm liking what you're saying there. I appreciate that.
And it comes back to like realistic goal setting as well, like you were saying before. You know, if if you want to go to the top meet of the year, there's many goals that you have to hit before that point.
Yeah,
So, it's good to have like reach goals that you need to strive for, but set those shorter term goals as well that you can actively achieve on your journey to wherever that end state is.
correct, correct. All right, questions. Do you want to add anything before I ask the next question as we're proceeding here?
No,
Okay. What is your take on people approaching you in the gym to ask you a question to then talk about themselves? Because I've noticed that a lot in powerlifting.
Yeah. Lots of egos in powerlifting. As somebody who has been interrupted my entire life, that is one of my biggest pet peeves. That should have gone on the pet peeves list.
Okay.
Yeah, people come up to you, hey, what do you have today? And you barely even get out a sentence, and they want, I have this big lift today, or my lift sucked today. It's their eyes go blank as you're talking, and so
Yes.
as soon as you're done talking, oh good, now it's time to talk about myself. Just don't even ask. If you want to talk about yourself, or you want to say something about yourself to somebody, just say it, because you're really not fooling anybody by pretending to care
Hmm.
about their stuff.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot, especially in the powerlifting community. They approach you with a question just so they can start a conversation to tell you about their entire powerlifting journey or
Yep.
what they want to do. The good thing about me though is that I hate talking about myself. So I listen because I'm like, okay, thank you. You can speak all you want. That's fine with me. I don't want
True.
to. I don't want to talk about me. So it's fine. But I've seen people's conversation get hijacked. Okay, all right. Good luck with that. Wait, so yeah, that's definitely something that I've seen a lot. But I think that's because it's like that job where you have no one to speak to. The security guards, the truck driver job. As soon as you get someone they want to talk your ears off. I think it's like that sometimes because no one really, no one. I think most of the people or most of the lifters in powerlifting that we really can't communicate the sport to our family members because they don't understand it. They probably never will. So as soon as you get someone that seems kind of interested in it, you go, I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it rip. So I think that's what it is, and I think it's like me personally. I enjoy listening to people's goals and how the days are going and so forth. Um, and I find pleasure in that. Just don't talk to me when I'm trying to do my heavy lift though. Other than that, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. But
That that's a good point about not being able to really talk to anybody else
yeah,
about
yeah.
lifting, because if
It's not basketball.
I
It's not
could,
baseball. It's not soccer. Yeah, not
yeah,
football.
I could tell, I could tell my family that I squatted 500 pounds, and they would be just as impressed as if I told them I squatted
200.
350.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. There's no like concept of
yeah.
what's impressive in
Yeah.
that.
So
So I agree.
yeah. So like I said, I've seen it a lot, but I don't have an issue with it. But I've seen people's conversation got hijacked in the middle
Yeah,
of the convo, which is pretty just
yeah.
it. All right.
I don't really mind people talking about themselves either. It's just kind of the approach sometimes is a little
I
bit
think you're right. I
jarring.
think it is the approach. Is the approach. I think you're absolutely right with that. And I think, but maybe they don't know how to do it. That's
Yeah.
their outlet. I mean,
Yep.
all right. Now we are powerlifters, or we are strength athletes, if you want to call it that. We go to the gym and we feel comfortable among our peers. We're giants. Some of us are giants. Some of us are strong. Some of us are small. But in some way or the other, we're comfortable, right? We're comfortable. And then, especially for the bigger people, the super heavyweights like myself, the heavier people, and then you go out in public and you feel like Godzilla. How do you handle that transformation where in the gym you're comfortable because the gym settings everyone is working for like the bodybuilders are trying to get bigger, trying to get lean. This person is trying to get stronger here. So everyone is doing something. So every type of body type is welcome. No one is like, no, we're all good.
Yep.
And then you go out in public and you feel like the Michelin man, at least for me. How do you handle that? How does that translate to your outside world?
I think that's something that I really struggle with, is because I found this community where it's almost celebrated to be bigger, because mass moves mass. Everybody's favorite line, right?
Hmm.
Um being a super heavyweight, everybody just assumes that you're strong because you're big and you have to be big to move, lots of weight. And so it's such a nice experience as somebody who's been larger my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
to be in that environment. And you get so comfortable that you almost forget that you're bigger than the average person. And then you go out into the real world and you're like, ah,
Yeah.
what the heck? I'm huge. Or you go to buy clothes and nothing fits.
Yes.
And I think for me, whenever it kind of arises is when I'm not wearing my regular just going to the grocery store clothes, having to dress up, wear a dress or wear something a little bit nicer. It's always like, holy crap, I'm so much bigger than everyone else.
Yeah.
So I don't really have an answer for how I handle that, but I think it is something that's very relatable, and it does make me really appreciate the community that powerlifting breeds. Just accepting you at any body weight. Like, you could be super lean as well. And as long as you're in there, doing your thing, there's really no judgment.
Yep. I agree. I agree. All right. So what's next for Sarah Ferguson in powerlifting?
So I haven't really told many people this yet, but in February, unfortunately, I have to have a surgery performed, which will lead me to not being able to lift at all, anything over like 15 pounds for 4 weeks.
Ouch. Yeah.
So that's really unfortunate, but it's something that needs to be done. And once that's done, I'll be good as gold. But so I'm taking 4 weeks off. And then I had already signed up for PA States, USAPL, and I'm still going to do that meet. I'm not sure exactly where my body will be at that point, but I'm going to, kind of go in, do what I can. And like I was saying before, it'll be kind of my reintroduction, getting my feet wet again. I haven't competed since July of last year, so it'll be good to get back out there, move some weight around in front of judges, and then after that, we'll see. I think as of right now, my plan is to do probably regionals in the fall up in New York this year, I think. So that'll be fun. And just riding the wave, doing what I can.
Okay. Anything exciting coming up this year for you in general?
You're competing some places, which will be fun. It'll be nice to travel a little bit. I think our travel schedule always kind of revolves around powerlifting, which is exciting because it gives us reason to go different places. So that'll be fun. Uh, Other than that, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. All right. Coming down to the end here. Question here. When you started powerlifting, who was that person that influenced you? Or I don't like that word too much. Who was that example, that person that, hey, you know what? This is some good stuff. I mean, let me get more interested in let me look into this sport more. Who was that person? Either be via social media, if it was in person, if it was at a meet. Who was that person or persons or a group or whatever the case may be that helped you or encouraged you to or somehow inspired you to get into powerlifting?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, but the very first person I think that was a powerlifter that I started following on social media was Amanda Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just loved that and I don't mean this disrespectfully at all, but I just loved that she looked like what I would consider a normal person, like a very strong, jacked, normal person, but, wasn't super shredded like other athletes that I've seen. And so I loved watching her lifts. She's, strong as heck. So just watching her lifts and stuff was really inspiring. And then as I got more into it, obviously there were some local people and other people that I got into, but she was definitely the first.
Have you met her yet?
I have not.
But do you plan to meet her?
I would love to. Yeah. We'll see if the stars ever align, but
Good to know. Good to know. Now, on what are some of the benefits powerlifting has given to you or brought your way? What some of the good things, good memories or benefits, or you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I think as you get older, it's harder to meet people and form bonds with people. And powerlifting has definitely given me that. It's helped me meet so many different people from so many different backgrounds and areas and walks of life. That's been really cool. I love, like, part of the reason why I started this podcast was I just love talking to people and getting to know why people do things and what makes people tick. So that's been really cool that's come from powerlifting. And secondly, I would also just say the confidence, the personal confidence that powerlifting has given me. It's helped me communicate better. It's helped me have better drive. Gives me purpose. It's not my entire purpose in life, but it's given me achievable goals to hit and continue striving for. So it's done a lot.
I've personally seen you grow, and you personally throughout the years in terms of powerlifting, and your presence in the gym has definitely been a ray array. Let me rephrase that. Your presence has definitely been a ray of sunshine in the gym, and
Thank
wherever
you.
whoever you've interacted with or dealt with, you always leave a smile on their face, and the environment in the gym is definitely much better with you in it and people like yourself. So it's good to have you in the community, um, doing positive things. Came a long way from lifting, but still growing. And I mean, you're a true champion, a true warrior. I mean, and that's good to see. I just hope that you continue, stick around, and 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 continue to live until you're M. I don't think there's an M22, but just saying. Yeah. With that being said, do you have anything else to say to add to this?
No, thank you for facilitating this. This has been really fun.
This is my podcast now. I'm hijacking this. Thank you everyone
I've been
for tuning
replaced.
in. Was that what you have?
I've been replaced.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for tuning in to episode 10. It's Unleashing Power podcast. Until next time, this is your part-time host Alejandro Wickham and your guest Sarah Ferguson. Peace.
Thank you, everyone.